You've noticed it too, right? The betting ads, they're fucking everywhere. Open YouTube, betting ad before the video starts. Watch the game, betting logo plastered across the jersey. Scroll Instagram, your favorite athlete pushing odds. Check your podcast feed, another ad read for some sportsbook offering free money. And maybe you know someone who's into it now. A friend, a coworker, someone who used to be normal about sports. Now they're checking their phone every 5 minutes during the match, watching their balance go up and down. The industry calls it entertainment. Safe, fun, responsible. Just a way to make the game more exciting, they say. Place a small bet. Feel more invested in the outcome. What could possibly go wrong? They plastered "gamble responsibly" at the end of every single ad like it's some magic spell that absolves them of everything. Like putting a warning label on poison makes it safe to drink. Just a small bet, they promise. Makes the game more exciting. Adds a little spice. What's the harm in that? Here's the harm. You're carrying a casino in your pocket. 24/7, 365 days a year. Optimized by algorithms that are smarter than you, faster than you, and designed by people with PhDs in behavioral psychology, whose entire job is to separate you from your money. Let me explain how you get fucked. The house edge. Every single bet you place has a built-in mathematical disadvantage. It's not hidden, it's just that nobody explains what it actually means. Let's say you bet $100 on a football game. Fair odds should be 2.0. You double your money if you win. Simple. But the bookie offers you 1.91 instead. That 0.09 difference? That's their cut. Doesn't sound like much, does it? 9 cents on the dollar? But over 100 bets, you've lost 5 to 7% of everything you wagered. Over 1,000 bets? You're mathematically guaranteed to be in the red. This isn't gambling. This is math. Cold, precise, unbeatable math. And the math says one thing. You lose. But the house edge isn't even enough for them. They need you hooked. So they let you win early. Not by accident. Not by luck. By design. Industry data leaked from UK Bookmakers in 2019 shows that first-time bettors win 58% of their first 5 bets. That's way above the statistical expectation of 48 to 50%. You get that dopamine hit, that rush. The feeling that maybe, just maybe, you're good at this, that you've got an edge, that you can see what others can't. You don't. You've been baited. Then the win rate drops. After your first 20 bets, it falls to 44%, below expectation, and by then you're chasing losses. The algorithm knows when you're desperate. It tracks your behavior, and it sends you a push notification at exactly the right moment. Quote 1. This is variable reward scheduling. The exact same psychology that makes slot machines the most addictive form of gambling on Earth. You almost win, so you keep trying. Near miss after near miss. Your brain treats quote 2 the same as actually winning. Same dopamine spike, same rush. But no money in your account. So who wins from all this? Flutter Entertainment pulled in $9.6 billion in revenue last year. $9.6 billion. Bet365's founder, Denise Coates, is richer than the Queen was. She paid herself £421 million in 2022. That's not company revenue. That's her personal salary. For 1 year. YouTube and Google? They're taking $2 to $3 billion annually in ad revenue just to shove these ads in your face. Every video, every search, every moment of your digital life. Sports clubs? Manchester United gets £60 million per year to put a betting logo on their shirts. 17 out of 20 Premier League teams have betting sponsors. The NBA made FanDuel and DraftKings official partners. Even governments are in on it. The UK government rakes in £3 billion a year in gambling taxes. $3 billion. They're not going to protect you. Why would they? You're not the customer. You're the product being sold. Here's what they won't tell you. This isn't entertainment. It's a tax on hope. People bet because they're desperate, because working an honest job for 40 hours a week doesn't cover rent anymore. Because saving money doesn't build wealth. Because the system is rigged against them from every angle. So they pay for the dream. The fantasy that one bet, one lucky break, one perfect parlay will change everything. Will let them quit their job, pay off their debts, finally breathe. And the data proves it. The poorer the neighborhood, the more betting shops. It's not random. It's not coincidence. The correlation between poverty and betting density is 0.78. That's targeting. That's predatory. So how deep does this go? How did bookmakers buy sports, YouTube, and your friend's paycheck? Let me show you exactly how this machine was built, and who profits while your friends go broke. May 14th, 2018. United States Supreme Court strikes down the federal ban on sports betting. The decision is called Murphy versus NCAA. And what happens next is a blitz. Within 5 years, betting ads go from practically invisible to completely unavoidable. Every sports broadcast, every YouTube creator with over 100,000 subscribers, every podcast with a halfway decent audience, every Instagram story from athletes. By 2025, the global betting industry is spending $15 billion per year on advertising. $15 billion. For context, that's more than Coca-Cola's entire global advertising budget. More than McDonald's. More than most countries' defense spending. Every third sports video on YouTube has a betting ad integration now. Pre-roll, mid-roll, sponsored segments. It's inescapable. Who's behind this explosion? Flutter Entertainment, worth $27 billion. They own FanDuel, PokerStars, and a dozen other brands you've seen everywhere. Bet365, whose founder Denise Coates paid herself £421 million in 2022. That made her the highest-paid CEO in UK history. Not highest-paid female CEO, highest-paid CEO, period. DraftKings, FanDuel, 1xBet, and the platforms enabling all of it. Google takes billions to run these ads. YouTube creators get their cut for promoting them. Meta does the same on Instagram and Facebook. Everyone's eating. 17 out of 20 Premier League clubs have betting sponsors on their shirts right now. 17 out of 20. The NBA made FanDuel and DraftKings official league partners. Individual athletes, Lionel Messi, Neymar, Jamie Foxx, all betting brand ambassadors now. The industry line? We're just meeting consumer demand. People want to bet, so we're providing a safe, regulated option. We're bringing gambling out of the shadows. Regulators echo the same talking points. Legalization is good because it takes betting out of the black market. It generates tax revenue, creates jobs, funds schools and infrastructure. It's all very reasonable, very clean, very polished, very complete and utter bullshit. Here's anomaly number 1. Betting ads are everywhere. But cigarette ads? Banned since the 1990s. Alcohol ads? Heavily restricted. You can't advertise during daytime programming or shows aimed at children in most countries. Betting? 0 restrictions. Primetime television. YouTube pre-roll ads, Instagram stories, podcast ad reads, TikTok sponsorships. If betting is _quote_for_y, does it need more advertising firepower than Coca-Cola? Why is an industry that causes documented addiction allowed to advertise more aggressively than tobacco and alcohol combined? Anomaly number 2. Sponsorship saturation. Open any Premier League match. 17 out of 20 teams have a betting logo on their shirt. That's 85% market penetration. The NBA? Official partners are FanDuel and DraftKings. Formula One? Betting sponsors on multiple teams. Lionel Messi? Betting ambassador. Neymar? Same deal. If betting is just harmless fun, why is every single team, league, and athlete scrambling for these sponsorship deals? Deals worth 20 to 60 million pounds per year per club. Because it's obscenely profitable. More profitable than any other sponsor category. And everyone knows it. Anomaly number 3. The algorithms. Betting apps use the exact same dopamine hacking mechanics as slot machines and Instagram. The exact same playbook. They track everything. How long you stare at odds before deciding. Which teams make you bet impulsively. What time of day you're most vulnerable. If you haven't placed a bet in 3 days, you get a push notification with a quote 5 to pull you back in. Research shows that push notifications sent when your team is losing increase impulsive betting by 43%. 43%. That's not accidental. That's behavioral engineering. The user interface design mirrors slot machines. Bright colors, satisfying sounds, near-miss displays that make you feel like you almost won. Your team was 1 goal away. The bet almost hit. Try again. Betting apps track over 200 behavioral signals per user. 200. They know more about your gambling psychology than you do. And they use that data to keep you betting until you're broke. Your team's losing? Notification. _quote_6___. This isn't entertainment. This is behavioral manipulation. This is addiction architecture. So the official story, we're just meeting consumer demand, doesn't explain any of this. Why the saturation? Why zero advertising restrictions when cigarettes and alcohol are banned? Why the addiction-optimized algorithms? Why the targeting of poorest neighborhoods? To understand how bookmakers bought sports and YouTube, you need to understand how gambling went from illegal vice to respectable industry. You need to see the system that made this possible. Stop. Forget the ads for a second. To understand how gambling went from illegal to unavoidable, we need to go back. Way back. Back to the 1990s, when betting was banned, stigmatized, and associated with organized crime. When admitting you gambled was social suicide. In 1992, the United States passed PASPA, the Professional and Amateur Sports Protection Act. Sports betting became illegal everywhere except Nevada. Completely banned. Federal crime. In the UK, betting shops existed, but they were grimy, depressing places on run-down high streets. Fluorescent lighting, cigarette smoke, desperate men staring at screens. You didn't talk about going there. It wasn't something you admitted to friends. Gambling was treated like a disease. Politicians gave speeches about how it destroys families, ruins lives, tears apart communities. The moral panic was real and widespread. But the black market? Thriving. Offshore gambling sites, illegal bookies, underground poker rooms. By 2005, the global underground gambling market was worth $12 billion. $12 billion. All of it, untaxed, unregulated, invisible to governments. Governments hated this. Not because gambling was bad for people. They didn't give a shit about that. They hated it because they weren't getting their cut. $12 billion in economic activity, and they couldn't tax a single cent of it. Then, 2008 hits. Global financial crisis. Lehman Brothers collapses. Banks get bailed out. Governments go broke. Austerity measures everywhere, cutting education, healthcare, infrastructure. Desperate search for new revenue sources. And here come the gambling companies with a pitch, a very attractive pitch. Legalize us, regulate us, we'll pay taxes, billions in revenue for your struggling budgets. We'll create jobs, boost the economy, and we'll do it all legally, transparently, respectably. Between 2010 and 2015, the gambling lobby spent over £40 million in the UK alone. 40 million. Wining and dining politicians, funding think tanks, commissioning independent research showing the economic benefits of legalization. Slowly, carefully, the framing shifted. It wasn't, quote, 10 anymore, it was, quote, 11. Not addiction, quote, 12. Not a vice, an underscore, quote, 13, not addicts, quote, 14, not exploitation, quote, 15, The language changed, the perception changed, and the laws changed with it. But here's where it gets really clever. The big betting companies didn't set up shop in London or New York, where they'd face high taxes and heavy regulation. They went offshore. Malta, Gibraltar, Isle of Man. Why? Taxes. Pure, simple tax arbitrage. Malta charges gaming companies 5% corporate tax. 5%. Gibraltar charges even less. Some companies pay effectively zero. Meanwhile, they could still operate across the entire European Union market. Full access to wealthy customers, minimal tax burden. Bet365, one of the world's biggest betting companies, is headquartered in Stoke-on-Trent, England. Working-class town. But the company is licensed in Gibraltar. Result? Billions in revenue from UK customers, pennies in tax paid to the UK government. Flutter Entertainment is legally domiciled in Ireland, where corporate tax is 12.5%. They operate globally, but pay taxes in the lowest rate jurisdiction they can find. In 2023, Flutter paid an effective tax rate of 8.4% on global profits. 8.4%. This is regulatory arbitrage at its finest. Make your money in rich countries with desperate customers. Pay taxes in poor countries with favorable laws. Keep the difference. By 2020, Malta, a tiny Mediterranean island with a population smaller than most cities, hosted over 300 gambling companies. 300. All paying minimal taxes while extracting billions from customers across Europe. Gibraltar, with a population of 30,000 people, became headquarters to over 30 major betting firms. 30,000 people. More betting companies per capita than anywhere on Earth. The governments knew. They didn't care. Because even the scraps, even the tiny percentage of tax these companies paid, was better than nothing from the black market. You want to understand the betting takeover? Look at cigarettes in the 1950s. Back then, tobacco companies sponsored everything. Formula One cars were covered in Marlboro logos. Football kits carried Benson and Hedges branding. Tennis tournaments were named after cigarette brands. Doctors appeared in advertisements saying, "I smoke Camels for my throat." The strategy was simple and brutally effective. Make the product aspirational, associated with success, glamour, athleticism, sophistication. Make people forget that it kills you. Make smoking look cool. Make it look normal. Make it look like what successful people do. And it worked. For decades, it worked. Smoking rates soared. Tobacco companies became some of the most profitable corporations on Earth. Even as the lung cancer data piled up, the marketing machine kept spinning. It took governments 50 years to ban tobacco advertising. 50 years of lobbying, lawsuits, public health campaigns. And even then, the industry fought every inch of the way. Betting companies copied this playbook, beat for beat, word for word, step by step. Sponsor every sports team, get athletes to promote it, rebrand gambling as sports entertainment, make it aspirational. Associate betting with success, with being smart, with being in control. Make the ads slick, make the apps beautiful, make it look like what cool, successful people do. And it worked. Within 10 years, betting went from stigma to status. From grimy high street shops to sleek apps promoted by Lionel Messi and Neymar. From shameful vice to Sunday afternoon entertainment. The transformation was complete. Gambling had been laundered. Respectability achieved. Then came the breakthrough. May 14th, 2018. United States Supreme Court strikes down PASPA in Murphy v. NCAA. States could now legalize sports betting individually. And they did. Fast. Incredibly fast. Why? Tax revenue. States were projecting billions in new tax income, money they desperately needed after a decade of austerity following the financial crisis. Within 5 years, 38 U.S. states legalized sports betting. 38 out of 50. The floodgates opened. The advertising tsunami began. DraftKings and FanDuel had been operating in a legal gray zone for years as daily fantasy sports. It wasn't technically gambling, they claimed. It was a game of skill, different rules, different regulations. The moment sports betting became legal, they dropped the pretense. They were sports books now, legitimate, legal, backed by billions in venture capital funding. In 2023 alone, U.S. states collected $1.9 billion in tax revenue from sports betting. $1.9 billion. That's billion with a B. That's new schools, new roads, political campaigns funded. No state government is giving that up. DraftKings and FanDuel spent over $2 billion combined on advertising between 2019 and 2023. $2 billion. Carpet bombing every possible channel with the same message. Betting is fun. Betting is easy. Betting is for everyone. But legalization alone doesn't explain the explosion. The real accelerant? Your phone. The smartphone in your pocket right now. Before smartphones, betting required effort. You had to physically drive to a betting shop or log on to a clunky desktop website, enter your credit card details, navigate terrible user interfaces. It created friction. It created time to think, time to change your mind. Now, tap, tap, bet. 45 seconds from thought to wager. Smartphone penetration went from 68% in 2015 to 91% in 2025. 91% of adults now carry a casino in their pocket. Every moment of every day. The average time from thought of betting to actually placing a bet dropped from 25 minutes in the desktop era to 45 seconds in the app era. 45 seconds. No time to reconsider, no friction, pure impulse to action. Betting app session length averages 8 to 12 minutes. Compare that to 2 to 3 minutes for news apps. Users are spending 4 times longer in betting apps than in apps designed to inform them about the world. Push notifications from betting apps have a 40% open rate. 40%. That's double the rate of other app categories. Because the notifications are engineered. They're sent when you're most vulnerable, when your team is losing, when you haven't bet in a few days, when the algorithm predicts you're most likely to take action. And the apps are designed for addiction. Bright colors, satisfying sounds, smooth animations, personalized odds, all straight from the slot machine playbook. You're not carrying a phone. You're carrying a casino that studies your behavior 24/7 and optimizes itself in real time for maximum extraction. A casino that knows you better than you know yourself. So now you have the full picture. Legalization gave them legitimacy. Tax-hungry governments gave them access. Offshore havens gave them profit margins. Sports partnerships gave them credibility. Tech platforms gave them reach. Smartphones gave them constant access. Algorithms gave them your money. This isn't an accident. This isn't some organic market trend. This is a system, built piece by piece over 15 years, each component carefully designed and integrated. And that's why, when you open YouTube in 2025, you're drowning in betting ads. Because the entire infrastructure was designed to put a casino in your pocket and make it feel completely normal. But here's the part they don't advertise. The part they hide in fine print and bury in user agreements. What actually happens to the people who bet. The mechanics of how you lose. Every single time. So, you know the ads are everywhere. You know how gambling got legalized. You know who profits from the system. You know the history. Now, let's talk about the part they don't advertise. The mechanics of how you lose. Because this isn't random. This isn't bad luck. This isn't the game. This is math. Cold, precise, unbeatable math. And once you understand it, you'll never look at a betting ad the same way again. Here's how they fuck you. The house edge. Every single bet you place has a built-in mathematical disadvantage. It's not hidden in complicated terms and conditions. It's right there in the odds. They just hope you don't understand what it means. Let's say you want to bet $100 on a football game. Simple, coin flip basically. Either your team wins or they don't. Fair odds should be 2.0. You risk 100, you win 200 if you're right. Simple. But the bookie doesn't offer you 2.0. They offer you 1.91 or 1.87. Depends on the book, depends on the market, but it's always less than 2. That difference, that 0.09 or 0.13, that's their cut. That's the house edge. Doesn't sound like much, does it? 9 cents on the dollar, barely noticeable on a single bet. But over 100 bets, you've lost 5 to 7% of everything you wagered. Over 1,000 bets, you're mathematically guaranteed to be deep in the red. The math doesn't care about your winning streak. The math doesn't care about your system. The math says you lose. On casino slots, the house edge is 2 to 15% depending on the game. On poker, the casino takes a rake of 5 to 10% of every pot. On sports betting, it's 4.5 to 7% depending on the type of bet. You're not betting against other players. You're not betting against luck. You're betting against a mathematical certainty. The house always wins. Not because they're lucky, because the math is rigged in their favor from the start. But the house edge isn't enough. It's too slow. It takes too long to extract maximum value from each customer. So they need you hooked. They need you betting frequently, impulsively, desperately. So they let you win early. Not by accident, not by chance, by design. Leaked industry data from a 2019 UK study shows that first-time bettors win 58% of their first 5 bets. 58%. That's way above the statistical expectation of 48 to 50% for any fair game. You get that dopamine hit, that rush, that feeling of being in control, the feeling that maybe you're good at this, that maybe you've found an edge, that maybe you're smarter than the average bettor. You're not. You've been baited. The algorithm gave you those wins deliberately, because it knows something you don't. Once you're hooked on that dopamine, you'll keep chasing it. And then, the win rate drops. After your first 20 bets, it falls to 44%, below expectation, below break even. You're losing now, but you remember those early wins. You remember how good it felt. So you keep trying. By then, you're chasing losses. You're betting bigger to win back what you lost. You're betting on games you don't care about just to feel that rush again. And the algorithm knows. It tracks your behavior. Every click, every hesitation, every pattern. Push notifications get sent during losing streaks. Research shows they increase impulsive betting by 43%. 43%. The app waits until you're down, until you're desperate, and then it whispers, "Free bet waiting for you. Make the comeback." This is variable reward scheduling, the same psychology that makes slot machines the most addictive form of gambling on Earth. You almost win, so you keep trying. Near miss after near miss. Your brain treats almost winning the same as actually winning. Same dopamine spike, same neurological response, but no money in your account. The app shows you that the bet almost hit, 1 goal away, 1 point away, so close. Try again. The algorithm is designed to keep you in that state of perpetual near success, always almost winning, never quite getting there, but convinced that the next one will hit. Who designs this? Who builds these systems? Behavioral psychologists, hired explicitly to maximize how much you lose before you quit. DraftKings, FanDuel, Bet365, they all have teams of PhDs in behavioral psychology and neuroscience. Their job title? User Engagement Specialist, Retention Analyst, Customer Experience Designer. That's corporate speak for addiction engineer. Job listings from DraftKings in 2023 literally said, _quote _ 26 _ optimize engagement. That means make them bet more. Retention. That means keep them hooked. The industry has a term for you. LTV. Lifetime value. That's the total amount of money you will lose before you quit gambling forever. Before you hit rock bottom. Before you run out of money or willpower. For the average sports bettor, LTV is $2,400 to $3,600. That's how much the algorithm expects to extract from you over your _quote _ 27 _ as a customer. Every notification is designed to increase that number. Every UI element, every personalized offer, every quote 28, all of it calculated to extract your LTV as efficiently as possible. They track over 200 behavioral signals per user. How long you look at odds before deciding, which sports make you bet impulsively, what time of day you're most vulnerable, how your betting changes when you're winning versus losing, whether you bet more on weekdays or weekends, whether you chase losses aggressively or carefully. And they use all that data to optimize, to personalize, to manipulate. And here's where it gets really dark. Who bets the most? Who loses the most money? The poorest people. Not the richest, not the middle class, the poorest. UK data from 2022 shows that the poorest 10% of households spend 3 times more on gambling as a percentage of their income than the richest 10%. 3 times more. They have less money and they spend a bigger share of it on a mathematically unwinnable game. The correlation between neighborhood deprivation index and betting shop density is 0.78. That's nearly a perfect correlation. The poorer the neighborhood, the more betting shops, the more betting ads, the more predatory targeting. This isn't random. This isn't market forces. This is deliberate targeting. Poorest neighborhoods get the most betting shops because poor people bet more. Because they're desperate. Because they're looking for an escape. Countries with the highest gambling rates relative to GDP? Philippines, Malta, Singapore. All countries with massive wealth inequality. The rich get richer legally. The poor get sold hope at a mathematically guaranteed loss. The average problem gambler in the UK loses £15,000 per year. £15,000. That's a used car. That's a year of groceries. That's rent for months. Gone. Transferred from people who can't afford it to corporations that don't need it. This is the tax on hope. People bet because they're desperate, because working an honest job for 40 hours a week doesn't cover rent anymore. Because saving money doesn't build wealth when inflation eats it faster than interest grows it. Because the system is rigged from every angle. So they pay for the dream, the fantasy that one bet, one perfect parlay, one lucky break will change everything. Will let them quit their shitty job, pay off their debts, finally breathe. And the house takes that money, every time, by mathematical design. So who wins from this _quote_29_? Let's name names. Let's name numbers. Flutter Entertainment made $1.4 billion in net profit last year. $1.4 billion. Not revenue, profit. After all expenses, after all costs, $1.4 billion extracted from losing bets. Denise Coates, founder of Bet365, paid herself £421 million in 2022. $421 million. That's not company money. That's her personal salary for 1 year of work. The highest CEO compensation in UK history. DraftKings pulled in $4.6 billion in revenue in 2024. $4.6 billion. Most of it from people who mathematically cannot win. And Google, YouTube, they took $2 to $3 billion per year just for running the ads, just for showing you the casino. They didn't even run the casino. They just pointed you toward it and collected billions. Globally, players lost over $500 billion in 2024. $500 billion. $500 billion. Transferred from the desperate to the already rich. From the poor to the powerful. From the hopeful to the house. This isn't wealth creation. There's no product being built. No service being rendered. No value being created. This is pure wealth extraction. From the pockets of people who can't afford it into the bank accounts of billionaires who don't need it. The UK government collected £3 billion in gambling taxes last year. They're not protecting you, they're profiting from you. You're not a citizen to protect, you're a revenue source to exploit. So now you know how the machine works. You know the math that guarantees you lose. You know the algorithms that hook you. You know the poverty that feeds it. You know the billionaires who profit. You know the governments that enable it. What does this all mean? Let me bring it home. So, who lost? Your friends. That guy at work who's suddenly always broke. The person who used to go out for drinks but now quote 30 while checking betting apps every 5 minutes. The millions of people who collectively lost $500 billion last year. $500 billion. That's not an abstraction. That's rent money, car payments, groceries, futures destroyed one bet at a time. The average problem gambler loses £15,000 per year, every year, until they hit bottom, until the money runs out, until the credit cards max out, until they have nothing left to bet. Who won? Flutter made $1.4 billion in profit. Denise Coates took home £421 million. DraftKings pulled in $4.6 billion in revenue. Google pocketed $2 to $3 billion just for showing the ads. Governments? £3 billion in tax revenue in the UK alone. Sports leagues? Billions in sponsorship deals. Premier League clubs getting £20 to £60 million per year to put a logo on a shirt. Everyone got paid, except the people who actually bet. Remember the dealer at the school gate? First hit free, then you're hooked? That's exactly what this is. Welcome bonus. Free bet _quote _31 _wager. Just try it. No commitment. See how it feels. But there is commitment. There is risk. Because once you're in, the algorithm knows you. It studies you like a predator studies prey. It learns when you're desperate, when you're chasing losses, when you're most vulnerable to impulse. And then it squeezes. Notification after notification. Personalized odds just for you. Limited time offers. Quote _32 _. The algorithm knows exactly when to whisper in your ear. The dealer doesn't care about you. He cares about your money, and betting companies are exactly the same. Except they're legal now. Advertised during prime time, celebrated in sports coverage, promoted by your favorite athletes. They bought sports. Every jersey, every stadium, every broadcast somehow connected to betting now. They bought YouTube. Every creator with a decent audience taking betting sponsorships now. They bought legitimacy. Governments made them legal and respectable. And now they're in your pocket. 24/7, 365 days a year. Selling you hope they know you can't afford. Hope they know is mathematically impossible. Hope priced at 5 to 7% per bet? This isn't gambling. It's a tax on hope. People bet because they're desperate, because working 40 hours a week doesn't pay rent in most cities anymore, because saving money doesn't build wealth when inflation eats it faster than interest grows it, because honest work doesn't provide escape, because the system is rigged from every angle. So they pay for the dream, the fantasy that one bet, one perfect parlay, one stroke of luck will change everything, will let them quit their job, pay off debt, breathe, finally breathe. And the house takes that money, every time, by design, by mathematical certainty. Will this change? No, because too many powerful people profit. Governments get tax revenue they're addicted to now. Platforms get advertising money they've built into their business models. Sports leagues get sponsorships they can't replace. Everyone's eating at the table. But now you know. You know the math. You know the algorithms. You know who wins and who loses. You know the names and the numbers. Next time you see a betting ad, and you will because they're everywhere, ask yourself one question. Who profits from this? Physically, in dollars and pounds, not the industry, not the market. Names. Bank accounts. Specific people getting specifically rich. Not the entertainment value, not the excitement, not the engagement. Follow the money. Always follow the money. That's how you see the world clearly. Not through the marketing, not through the bullshit, through the money. Thanks for watching. Stay skeptical. And remember, if you're not paying for the product, you are the product. With betting, you're paying to be the product. You're paying for the privilege of being exploited. You're paying for the algorithm to study you and optimize your extraction. Don't let them sell you hope. It's the most expensive thing you'll ever buy. And it's the one thing they can't deliver.